The hard work's already been done. You know, Jake's done everything he's got to do. He's listened very well. He's applied himself. Now it's just kind of staying mentally calm before the storm, kind of before the fight, and shut this off real quick. And nothing, just we put all the hard work in. Now it's just a lot of mental preparation, getting the weight down, getting everything ready for the weigh-in on Saturday morning. That's pretty much it. He's ready to go.
People always complain Jake isn't fighting a fighter. Well, now he's fighting a fighter, the UFC Hall of Famer. What threats does Tyron Woodley pose for Jake?
He poses a lot of threats. He's definitely Jake's most dangerous opponent. Nobody's saying that the other three guys Jake fought were, great boxers. Nobody's saying that, but if you look back in history and look at guys who are just starting their professional career, just starting to fight, they're not in there with killers. But I feel like for a 3-0 guy, for Jake to be facing a UFC champion like Tyron Woodley, a guy who's still relatively in his prime, very strong, very explosive. I heard you guys talking earlier. He's very powerful, very very explosive, very quick twitch. For Jake to fight a guy like that in a sport pro fight in a Showtime main event on pay-per-view in an 8-round fight, on a sport-round fight, there's a lot of things you got to take into consideration. This is it's not that small of a step, so it's definitely a step in the right direction.
Part of the UK, obviously, we're coming from the UK. We've got an interest in Tommy Fury being here, on the undercard.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of folk back home are going to put 2 and 2 together. Why is Tommy on the undercard on the Jake Paul here all the way in Cleveland? Can we assume, as Team Paul, they spoke about it, a possible fight next, Jake Paul, Tommy Fury, if they get through Sunday night?
We'll see how he looks. I don't know. He's definitely a possibility. It's not locked in by any means. I mean, he's got to go out there and perform. Jake's got to go out there and perform. And to be honest with you, if you want me to be 100% honest, I'm not even thinking about him. I'm only worried about Tyron Woodley. There's no Tommy Fury, there's no anything if we don't handle Tyron Woodley. So every ounce of our preparation has been all about Woodley. We haven't thought about Fury at all. Best of luck to him on the card. He seems like he works hard. He's a good kid, so best of luck to him. But we're only concerned about Woodley right now, and we got to handle that job first.
It's all good that Jake Paul's fighting all these fighters, Tyron Woodley, MMA fighter and stuff like this, but do you think it's the next fight you can see Jake in with a pure boxer, which is his number one spot, which is boxing, rather than an MMA guy coming over, a basketball player or a YouTuber, that his next fight will be a professional boxer?
It depends. It could be. It might not be. I mean, Jake's business model is a little different than everybody else. It would have to be a boxer with the type of credentials you can bring and warrant the type of show that Jake's putting on. It can't just be a one-sided promotion like it would be with most boxers. And Jake, obviously, he's only 3-0. He's not ready to fight the top guys who can potentially bring, the type of acknowledgement that an event like this would need. So, the right steps got to be taken. He's only 3-0. He's only been boxing a year and a half, almost 2 years. So, with patience, he will fight a lot of good boxers. But right now, we're just picking out good names, big people, and still people that the general public feels like this guy's going to beat you. So it's not like we're taking guys who are 100% slam dunks like this. The majority of the people, especially in the MMA world, they all feel like Jake's getting knocked out. So this is a pretty dangerous fight for a kid who's 3-0.
BJ, obviously we've all seen the right hand. Yeah. It's devastating, and we haven't had time to see a whole lot more because a lot of the fights have been like first round or something like that. Does Jake have a lot more weapons that we just haven't seen yet, or are you guys developing other stuff, or just the right hand's working and kind of look like how I can?
It all works. It all works very well. And if we can just get into that second round or whatever, then you're going to see one Sunday night. Like this guy. I mean, that's why I'm excited, I think, about this event, because what we see behind closed doors with top professionals coming in that we spar with hundreds of rounds. I'm not talking about 10, 20, 30, I'm talking hundreds of rounds over the last 18, 24 months. It all works, and you're going to see that on Sunday. If Tyron gets in the second or third round, you'll see that. He's got a lot of other weapons. People have no idea. And hopefully, Tyron can, and that's why we took Tyron. I'm the one who said, I want to fight Tyron. His manager asked me, they're like, is Jake ready for Tyron? I said, yes, he's ready. And hopefully this guy will take us into a second or third round, because Jake needs to get some rounds. I don't want him just going in there blasting all these guys out. And with all due respect to Gibb and to Nate Robinson and, Ben Askren, those guys were on Jake's level, and honestly, Tyron thought he was on the league. So you'll see that Sunday.
Jake is still green in the boxing game.
Yes.
Is he like a superior talent to most who take the amateur route? Like, are there still mistakes he's making and growing, or?
I mean, of course he's still making mistakes. It's 3-0, It takes years and years and thousands of hours to perfect your craft. You don't just wake up and you're a seasoned professional boxer. And you got to take your lumps in the gym. You got to take your lumps in training. And Jake's done that. Like, Jake sparred with, world champions. Jake sparred with, top contenders. And, he's taking his lumps, trust me. It's not like he just goes in there and he's baby. He's not. And that's the most misunderstood thing about Jake. People think, we go easy on Jake. People think he's soft. He's not soft. And I mean, whoever gets in there with him, it's almost too late by the time you get in there to realize, man, this guy's actually pretty good. And, once you get into the second and third round with Jake, I mean, he's still going at the same pace and going faster and harder and harder. He's like a shark, I'm telling you. I was talking to my dad yesterday, I compare him like a shark. Like once he gets in the water and he gets in there, he just wants to swim. And then once he tastes a little blood, he's like, he goes crazy. So he's really got that kind of like sick, that sick personality where he wants more whenever he gets going, and I like that.
I'll follow up on that question. You've been in the game long enough, the professional boxing game. You fought for a world title, and us in the UK will remember that. But how far can Jake go then? You've seen him in the gym. You still, like you said, he is a novice. But how far can he go in this boxing game?
I didn't really say he's a novice. I just said that he's just beginning. You know what I mean? So he's not like, oh, his skills are novice. I didn't say that at all. I just said that he's starting. He's getting going now, and he's very far advanced from where he should be. Honestly, I mean, for a guy who's only boxing 2 years, he has no business sparring and handling the guys he's sparring with, none at all. And it's just remarkable. It's because his fundamentals are good. His fundamentals from point A to point B, he's very efficient, he's very sharp. We take out any little distraction or any little thing that would possibly, we keep it as simple as possible. Simple, stupid. It's really effective in the boxing world, because if you're riding a bike and if you're a professional swimmer and you're swimming against an amateur, the amateur swimmer might be a stronger swimmer than you. He might have more endurance than you, but the professional swimmer has the better technique. And over a mile swim, if that amateur swimmer is going a little bit left and a little bit right, and that professional is going straight and straight and straight, he's going to get there first. And that's the mentality I have with Jake. I want his technique perfect. I want his fundamentals perfect. His form is very good. People that spar him, they can't believe it, and that's what we thrive on. I mean, if you can follow the fundamentals and if you have good fundamentals, you can go a long ways in anything. Kobe Bryant said it best. I practice the most basic things every single day because that's what makes me great, and I believe that.
So you've been in the game a long time, like he said. Do you see like championship potential in him? Like he's calling names like Canelo. Like, can you see Jake potentially hitting that level? Like, does he have a love for the game like that? And do you see that type of potential in him? Or?
I mean, look, like I think anybody when they first come into a new sport, they want to go after the best guys.
Yeah.
To say he's ready for Canelo right now, I'm not going to say that. I mean, come on, like Canelo's the pound for pound.
Do you see him reaching that level? I guess at some point, like.
I mean, that's a lot of work to get there.
Yeah.
I mean, let's keep it real. I mean, everyone. You can't knock Jake for wanting to fight and do against the best guys in the sport. He wants that. And honestly, if I had Canelo in the gym on Monday to spar with him on Monday, Jake would get up and he would go full out, all out Canelo as hard as he possibly could. So, I mean, he's got that mentality where he will go in there with anybody. He does not care. And I like that, but me and his manager got to be the ones, make sure I make the right moves. But, to say he's going to fight Canelo in 6 to 12 months, I'm not going to say that. We've got another schedule and another path. But to say in 3 or 4 years, Canelo's maybe 33, 34, Jake's maybe 27, 28. We'll see. Canelo to me is the best pound for pound fighter right now. There's not even really discussion to me based on resumes. I mean, the guy's resume is unbelievable, incredible. He fights every single challenge, and he's an amazing fighter. So, like I said, I don't like to forecast too much in the future, but anything's possible.
BJ, who do you compare Jake Paul's work ethic to? Because people don't know he works very hard.
I'm thinking back, through my career, some of the tireless workers. I've been around a lot of hard workers. I've got a lot of guys who really, really get in the gym and really train hard. I don't think I've ever been around in any camp ever with any fighter, any champion that has the structure that he's got on a daily routine. As far as schedule, as far as chef, as far as meal plan, as far as every little thing he does throughout the entire day is on schedule. Everything. It's planned out to a T. And if you look at, they did a survey a couple years ago of the 10 most successful people in the world and how they got to where they are. And they all have a very detailed routine, a very, very structured schedule every single day. Because there's a lot of power in a routine. There's a lot of power in following a hard schedule. And I feel like that's something that's given Jake a lot of success. Not to mention, having a good team around him. Myself, Jacob Chavez, he was my trainer for 10 years. He was Kenny Adams' assistant. It's no secret how I got started through Kenny Adams with my dad on the Army team, and Kenny kind of brought me along. And when I first turned pro, and Jacob was the mitt guy for Kenny Adams, and we also have Jay Leon Love, a very, very good professional boxer, but also a very good boxing mind. And he gives Jake a lot of good encouragement in training, a lot of good little tips, like professional tips that you couldn't get unless you were in there. So he's another guy who's also very good. So between us three, between Jake's team, between his schedule, and between his work ethic, I mean, he's a lot to deal with. He really is. So, yeah.
He doesn't take time off between fights. It's not like he's going to take 6 months balloon up. You keep him in the gym. A week off, 2 weeks off?
Ellie, we don't have time, He didn't start boxing until he was 21 years old. And if we're going to be calling all these people out, we don't have time to really mess around. So we got to get after it. And I don't really have time to hear, like, I need time off, or whatever. We don't have time for that. We've got a lot to learn. We've got a lot to make up for. So.
Jake already set the schedule. He said everybody that's in camp, everyone's on the team, September 13th. Look forward to being right back in camp.
Yeah, we have 2 weeks off, and that's it. So we're right back in. Whoever's next, whether it's Fury or whoever it is, then they better get ready because we're going right back in.
What do you make of his list then? I mean, on Twitter, he put up that 10-man list, and there's some killers on there: Masvidal, Usman, the Diaz brothers, Canelo, Tommy, his own brother. Man, he's made a big list on who he wants to fight next. So,
Devontae Davis was there.
Devontae Davis was there as well. Little Daniel. So, I mean, there's some killers on that list, man. What, as coach, what do you think when you see this list?
It's a trick question. Is this going to get spun around the media or what? I mean, look. Again, I'm going to go back to the Canelo question. Like, how can you fault the guy for wanting to fight the best guys in his division? I mean, I feel like not even his division, the best guys across the board. He wants all the best guys across the board in the boxing ring. Why the boxing ring and not the MMA Octagon or in the MMA world? Because the pay and the structure and everything is a lot better than boxing. It's giving these guys in the MMA community an opportunity to come over here and make a lot more money. So that's why. If Daniel's going to pay massive amounts of money for Jake to go over to the Octagon and pay incredible amounts of money like Jake is, maybe Jake would consider it.
Jake can wrestle, right?
He can, but I mean, our thing now, he wrestled in high school, he's a good wrestler. His brother also very good, but the money that is in the boxing right now and the money that Jake is creating, Jake's brand is creating, the opportunity, like, I think that goes like a lot unsaid. Like everybody on this card, even per Steven Espinosa, he said, look, like guys, everybody on this card is making more than they've ever made. Why? Because Jake said, look, I want to make sure these fighters are paid fairly. Most valuable promotions, we're going to go out of our way and make sure these fighters are all taken care of. I want them paid. I want them well looked after. And I got to tell you, I've gotten hundreds of calls and texts and emails from other fighters that won on cards, and it's contagious. And it's only going to get bigger because Jake wants fighters to be taken care of. And you got to like that as a fellow fighter. You respect that. So to circle back to your question about the list, we'll see. I'm looking at one guy at a time. There's not too many guys on that list that scare me, to be honest. But a couple names, we still got a little work to do. But some of the names on that list in the boxing ring, line them up. We can really do it. So.
Let me ask both of you guys, what's the biggest punch that Jake landed that you guys in camp? Anything that stands
on me? You didn't land anything on me. I hold the minutes. What do you mean?
No, we were like,
answer that. I don't know.
I don't know. He has so many great tools. He has both hands, both sides. His angles we created for him in this fight are going to be something for the crowd to see, something different. So he has power in both hands. I think his right hand, everyone sees that's one of his most strongest shots. But I think if he has a chance to work his left hand a little bit more as the fight continues, everyone will see that this is good as well.
Speaking of this list, his brother is on there. Have you guys been a part of, in and on those sparring sessions? Like, who's getting the better of who?
They don't spar.
They don't spar each other?
No. They never spar.
No, they don't spar.
Not really.
No.
Who you guys got in that one?
That's you know who I got, but it's really yeah, Jake, of course. But the thing about it is, like with Logan, I can't even. That would be the last name on the list, I would say.
Yeah.
Because it's family, Greg and Pam. I'm just like, you know what I mean. The parents. I would get a lot of slack both ways. It's just like with Logan comes into camp and watches Jake train. He offers a lot of encouragement. He comes in. It's like I don't know. Like these brothers are sick. Trust me, go fight each other.
Yeah.
But to me, as a coach, I would rather just be like, hey, maybe that's one we talk about, but maybe never happen.
Here's one for you then, BJ. He's willing to fight his own brother.
Yeah.
If he calls you out as his coach, he wants to fight you. What would you? I said he's crazy enough. He's crazy.
We're taking a sick twisted turn down the wrong road, and we're going into left.
That's all.
We're going into left field here. I'm not going to answer that. No.
Reining it back in, Mike Perry went on record to say that he sparred Jake and he got fucked up. Is that true?
Yeah, it is. But we didn't talk about it. Mike Perry said that, and Mike Perry will admit that on his own admission. And look, me and Mike texted for a long time after the sparring session. He's like, man, I can't believe it. Like that guy's, And I said, hey, if you wouldn't mind, can we keep this kind of low profile and not really talk about it? And he was like, yeah, I figured you guys would be telling everybody, and you haven't told anybody. And the reason why we've been able to have success getting people to fight us and come in, people don't really know how good Jake is right now. And I'm not saying he's the next Muhammad Ali. I'm not saying that. We got a lot of work to do and a lot to prove. But he's pretty good. And people are going to be surprised on Sunday like how one-sided the fight with Tyron is. It's going to be one-sided. Do not get that misunderstood. It's going to be one-sided. And, hopefully Tyron goes 3, 4, 5 rounds. That'd be great if he did. If he goes 5 rounds, and just know that Tyron will have worked his ass off in camp to get into those 4th and 5th rounds. Because no sparring partners were really able to do that. So it's going to be tough for him to get in that deep in the fight. So, to answer your question about Mike, I wish Mike the best. I know he kind of got confused and was saying some stuff about Jake after when Jake was going to fight Tyron. I don't know what exactly was going on with Mike in his life at that time, but I wish him the best and I wish him well. So,
BJ, you kind of talked about how Jake has been advocating for fighter pay. And we all know the story about the UFC. Does it take a personality such as a Jake Paul to kind of change pay structure? Because it seems like the fighters can't do it within the structure. You need somebody from the outside.
yeah, I mean, what do you think about that? Honestly.
I think you need somebody from the outside that's bringing attention to the situation.
Anybody in the UFC who says it, guess what? They won't be fighting. They won't be doing it. They'll be banned. So it takes someone like Jake to raise awareness because really they got a pretty good monopoly. Dana's got a pretty good thing going on over there. He says who fights who, when they fight, everything, what they get paid, everything. So, Jake's brought to the attention the percentage of professional teams and what they give to the fighters and what they give to the athletes compared to the UFC. And I think the UFC is pretty undervaluing their fighters from what they bring to the table. I mean, those fighters are tough. They bring a lot to the table, and fans come to see the fighters. They don't come to see, Dana and everybody else. Has Dana done a great job putting it all together and doing it and promoting it how he did with those seasons of, what's it called, the season he did, the Contender and all that? Yeah, he did a great job. But they're not there to see Dana. They're there to see the fighters. They are. And the fighters need to get paid better.
Is that part strategy on Jake's behalf, calling out Dana in order to kind of rile him up and have him send more fighters to Jake?
I think it's pretty well known. Like Dana's he's not really willing to send any fighters to Jake. He doesn't really want to take a chance and lose, one of his guys that he's got under contract right now at the moment to lose to Jake in the boxing ring. All of a sudden their marketability goes down and kind of messes up his business plan. I don't really think he's willing to send any. I think it's guys who have just been recently released that we have to kind of target. If the fight was big enough, maybe Dana would be willing to play ball and do a little business. And if not, then we just got to kind of play by ear.
Were there ever talks with Usman? I know there was competition.
No, and Usman's one of the, I think Usman's a name that came up. I think he called out Jake, and Jake's got an answer for everybody, trust me. Like, whether I like it or you like it, he's going to answer everybody. And, Usman's a great champion. I feel like he's one of the best fighters in the UFC right now. I think he's got incredible hands. I think he's very underrated in his hands. He's very good. And some of the guys that I respect in the MMA world, Hoff Mendez and other guys, they really talk highly of Usman and his striking ability and how much better he's gotten the last 2 years. So, I think that's a real challenge and a guy who would be very, very, he's a handful for anybody. In the UFC, but it'd even be tough for Jake, in the boxing world because his hands are so good. But with where he's at in his UFC career right now, I just don't feel like that's a realistic fight right now.
Why is he taking up the issue of fighter pay so much? Is he just a good guy, or what's behind it?
Why does there have to be something behind it? You know what I mean?
Oh, I don't mean something behind it in a nefarious way.
Yeah.
I meant, what's his motivation? You know him.
Yeah.
What's going on there?
His motivation is he's just coming into a sport and just like, why are the fighters not making what they bring into the table? Like Jake, look what Jake creates. Jake creates millions of buys or hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of buys, and he gets a portion of the money. How come other fighters aren't, and it took him, Jake's a smart business guy. He's a smart businessman. He's a 24-year-old with a 45-year-old head on his shoulder. He really is. He's done a lot of business. He's done a lot of good business. He's been burned a few times, but those experiences that he had where people kind of got the better of him or took advantage of him, he still learned. He's a smart guy. And this guy gets involved in his business and gets involved in his money. And he sees the platform. He sees the structure of how fighters get paid. And he's like, this isn't right. So that's pretty much it. He doesn't gain anything by paying his fighters more money on the card. I mean, what does he gain by that? It's money out of his pocket. You know what I mean? But he likes having people that associate with him come up with him, and that's very, very credible. Very, it's just a good attribute of Jake.
DJ, and online we see a lot of people in boxing hate on Jake. It just is, but when they see him in person, how do they act with him? Because you're with him a lot.
That's fine. I mean, he's misunderstood, like I said. I mean, some of his interviews, I mean, he's flashy. He says a lot of things that are, rile a lot of people up. And that's why he's got me and Jacob here to kind of, be the OGs and kind of pull him back in sometimes. But he's very effective. I mean, he does what he does. He gets people riled up. And but he's got good people around him to make sure that he's working at the same time. So I can guarantee everybody in this room that he's not talking with no substance. I guarantee you that. And whether you believe me or not right now, when the first bell rings on Sunday night, you're going to see what I'm talking about. I guarantee. And you're going to be, holy shit.
It sounds like the game plan's to come out and finish him. Does Jake have like the cerebralness and cardio endurance to go all 8 rounds and get a decision?
100% does Tyron. Tyron doesn't have the experience in the boxing ring, honestly. So that's the misconception here. The misconception is that Jake's the inexperienced guy, but Jake over the last 2.5, 3 years has sparred hundreds and hundreds of rounds with guys that Tyron couldn't have possibly gotten in there with. So the UFC cage and the MMA cage is different than the boxing ring, and you're going to see that. Tyron's going to get tired before Jake, trust me. Jake won't get tired. Tyron will get tired. Tyron's not going to be used to a pace like this. Tyron's not going to be used to, dealing with the kind of pressure that Jake's going to have and the kind of power. Tyron's a great wrestler. We respect him a lot. I think he's an amazing athlete. It's just too bad we had to fight him this time. But I mean, I feel like he's a really solid, athlete and a very good striker for the MMA world. He's a very good striker. In our world, he's a very inexperienced, mediocre striker. But he's still very tough. He's very credible. He's going to try hard. He's got that championship mentality. So we're taking it serious. We respect Tyron a lot. But he's going to be the one in deep waters in this fight, not Jake.
Who's the one guy you think that Jake Paul gets under his skin the most? Because he rattles a lot of people, but who's the one person who stands out to you?
It's a tie between about 10 people, bro.
13-man tie.
I don't know.
Top 3?
You guys tell me. I don't know who gets. I don't know. It gets
Dana White's number 1. Yeah.
I mean, but what's not true about what he's saying about Dana, though?
Yeah.
Are there any false things? I don't know what he's saying that's not true. I don't know. Like, you tell me. Like, I try to stay out of all the rumors and this guy thinks that. I don't really get involved myself in that, but I just want to make sure he's ready for Sunday night. So I can't really answer that question too well.
He said if he ran into Dana in the club, he'd knock him out. Dana's been known in the boxing world.
Oh my God.
You think Dana can handle himself or
Dana could
Dana's prime?
Yeah. No, not at all. But Dana would try, which would be funny and hilarious. But yeah, it would be, be short.
Maybe that's the next big fight. White versus Jake
Dana
Paul.
knows better. You'd never last one round, not even a round. So take that to the bank, put that on record. Dana would not last one round with Jake. Big gloves, little gloves. He would last one round with Jake. That'd be hilarious, though. So. Or Oscar. He keeps calling out Oscar too. He wouldn't last fucking 30 seconds with Oscar.
Yeah.
Can you talk about his relation with Amanda Serrano? Because we talked about MMA fighters getting paid. Women fighters have not been getting paid, and he put her as a co-main event. This is the one which won world titles 9 times over in 7 different weight classes. How admirable of a trait is that to put the spotlight on women's boxing, which has been put to the back burner for so long?
I absolutely love it. And Nikisa, remember when we were getting this card all lined up and everything, we were deciding who's going to be on the other card and everything. Nikisa, Jake's manager, made some excellent moves. Hey, Charles Conwell, Montana Love, getting the local guys from Cleveland, and getting the local people, riled up. But circling back to your question with Amanda, I mean, Amanda is, probably one of the most exciting female fighter ever born. Honestly, not only has she got all these wins, but she's got knockouts. She finishes opponents where, if you look at Katie Taylor and you look at Clarissa Shields, as good as they are, they don't get fighters out of there like Amanda. Amanda fights like a seasoned pro. She goes to the body, she attacks. I mean, she's just a savage fighter. And she's Puerto Rican, and as everybody in this room knows, Jake relocated to Dorado. He's in Puerto Rico now. We started his Boxing Bullies anti-bullying campaign, that platform. We've done an event. We want to do events all over the country where Jake is putting boxing gloves on kids all over the country, giving them opportunities to train, to work out, setting up gym facilities for them. I mean, hate all you want, but I don't see anybody else out there doing that kind of stuff. So we're just going to put our nose down and keep working, and people can say what they want to say. But like what he does with, for fighters like Amanda's, and Amanda's came up to me, and I've gotten to work with Amanda a couple times in camp. She's like, BJ, this has changed my life. You have no idea what this means to me. I will always look at Jake and always look at you guys in a different light because you're really changing my life here. And I don't even, words can't even describe it. And that's what life's really about. You know what I mean? How many people can you help come up? And that's really what Jake's about. And people might not see that right now, but they will see it. Jake's about bringing other people up around him, and he's very good at it. So Jake can change your life in a second. Trust me.
PJ, what happened with Jorge Masvidal and the kind of flip that happened between him and Jake? What do you know about that?
I'm not sure. I don't know. And I'm not going to speak on Jorge's behalf. We went to his gym one time. We trained with him a little bit. Not too much, just messing around. He was very, very gracious, very nice, and something obviously happened along the way, and as it does in sports sometimes. And now Jake's fighting Tyron, and Tyron and Jorge have been teammates for a long time, and Jorge's kind of riding with this guy, which is understandable. So I don't really think it's too much bad blood, except for the fact that in the fight world that happens sometimes. I'm going to stay out of that. I don't know.
Your experience with this journey, where you started with Jake, when nobody believed in him, no one thought, now you're pay-per-view on Showtime. How's it been from your perspective?
I told him when I first went to Big Bear, they called me in December 19th to go in as a sparring partner for the good fight. And, it was kind of crazy. I didn't really know who he was. And once I went into camp with him and sparred with him, I always like sparring with somebody to feel like what they do well. And, I was 3.5, 4 years removed from a world title fight. I wasn't in great shape, but at the same time, for a couple of rounds, I was a handful for anybody. And when I got in there and I felt what he was able to do and how he was able to attack, as green as he was and as inexperienced as he was, I liked the nuts and bolts and what he had. I really did. And I was like, you know what? I can do something with this kid. He's tough. He speaks his mind. He's a hard worker. He's a tremendous athlete. People don't know that about him, but he can take a shot and he can give a shot. Trust me. And this was 2 years ago. I just feel like I saw a lot of potential then. I saw a lot of possibility, and once we started cleaning up some of the basic mistakes he was making, he really started transitioning into a fighter who looked like he'd been fighting a lot longer than he has. He's got a tremendous team around him. I'm not even talking about myself. I'm talking about all around the board. Jacob Chavez, Jalen Love, his assistant Marcos, his strength and conditioning coach, Chef Byron, Jalen, like I said, Ocean Interbeing, the guy who does all his healing and his massages and everything. I mean, there's so many components to this great team, and he's got a good team around him. So I'm not surprised, to be honest with you. But to be in his second 8-round fight on a Showtime pay-per-view on a platform as large as Showtime, I mean, it's incredible. When has that ever been done?
And a fourth fight?
And a fourth fight in an 8-round fight. I mean, that alone is credible right there. Most guys are still fighting 4-rounders. Much less 6-rounders now. His second 8-rounder already wins 3-0. He's working his ass off. So you got to give him credit.
So you did get hit by Jake. It's sparring.
About 2 years ago, yeah. He took a couple himself, but I definitely got hit a couple times, yeah.
What'd you make of yesterday's events between Mama Woodley and D-Cut and all that? What was the conversations had afterward?
I think it got blown out of proportion. The thing about it is you got to respect Woodley's team, which I do, and you got to respect our team, which it didn't seem like there was a lot of that going on. Which whatever, we're the OGs. We're not worried about it. They got to fight on Sunday. But you got to realize when it's 3 days before the fight, and both teams' families and best friends are in the crowd, and there's yelling stuff, and D-Cut hears something, the mom yells something. It's easy to get things mixed up like that. And my feeling is, whenever a mother is yelling for her son, just let her yell whatever she's yelling at, whatever it is. You know what I mean? Let her yell. Mothers are sacred. It's something very important. But at the same time, when that goes into the sister running over and cussing him out, and getting in front of his face and all that, and then the other guy coming over and pulling his knife out. I mean, what the hell? Come on. Who brings that to a press conference? So just, you know what I mean? It's just like it got out of control, got out of hand. We're fine. We already hit the clear button. Jake handled it like very professional. He apologized, even though he didn't even say anything. He just kind of was up there trying to promote the fight. But it is what it is. He's ready to go Sunday. But I think it got blown out of proportion. And we obviously don't have any disrespect towards Mrs. Woodley at all, Mama Woodley. I love that she's in her son's corner. I think it's great. And really a lot of respect for their entire team. Pedro Diaz, he's a Hall of Fame trainer. Gerald Tucker, I've known of him for almost 20 years. I mean, he's got a good team behind him. So I give Tyron respect for going out and finding good people to put him in the best position to win this fight that he possibly can. He's got a very good team around him. I mean, Pedro Diaz is a mastermind. He's really good. So it's going to be an exciting little duel between us on Sunday.
PJ, how did you go from sparring to then training Jake? How did that transition?
It's a good question. I guess it kind of worked out where I went to Big Bear, and Shane Mosley was the head trainer. He had a family vacation planned for about, I think, 6 months. that his wife had set up for him. And, I was there, sparring with Jake, and when I was sparring with him, and I was looking back on the films of us sparring, I was showing Jake little things, things that he was making errors on that could improve his efficiency, that can improve his punch speed from A to B instead of going here or a hitch or bringing it back or doing little things that he just didn't even realize he was doing. So we broke down the film and we looked at it, and I was showing him different things, and he was like, "Hey, can we work on that on the mitts?" I'm like, "Yeah, let's do it." So we worked the mitts, and the first time we worked the mitts, he was like, "Man, I've never worked the mitts like that." That's something that, man, I don't know what you're doing on the mitts, and that's how, my father, Kenny Adams, they had always worked the mitts with me. So to me, it was like nothing, and Jacob had always worked the mitts with me like that. So I kind of, that's how I'd worked the mitts my entire career. So after we worked the mitts a couple times, Jake told me, and we were looking at film, Shane was actually gone on the family vacation for like 8 or 9 days, and this was 6 weeks before the fight. So you can't miss, a week before, you can't miss a week 6 weeks before a fight. You can't miss a day. You can't miss a session. You got to be locked in, head down, focused every single session. So I kind of got in, I helped a little bit. And then when Shane came back, Jake told Shane, I talked to Shane a little bit, and they kept me around as an assistant to do the mitt work, help break down film with Shane. And me and Shane kind of came up with a game plan with Gibb, and we worked together. And it was just a massive honor to work with, a Hall of Fame fighter and a great fighter like Shane Mosley, who really went out of his way to make Jake, make him feel comfortable and give him credibility, because Shane's one of the biggest names in boxing. And when he brought Jake up to Big Bear and was helping him get ready for the fight and working with him, it gave Jake a lot of credibility, and I just kind of fit in wherever I fit in. And I really thought that would be the only fight I'd work with Jake. After we knocked out Gibb, I went home, went back to Arizona, was hanging out, partying, getting back to work, doing real estate stuff, getting in on the stock market again, trying to find out if I was going to buy crypto or Doge or what I was going to do. And then I got a call from Jake to move out to California a couple weeks later. So that's kind of how it started.
Yeah. Speaking of watching tape, what do you make of Tyron Woodley's last 4 fights?
Fighting top level opposition. So everyone's like, "Oh, he's got 4 losses." Like, he's fighting the very best guys. I mean, let's keep it into perspective. It's not like he's getting, losing against bums. He's fighting very, very good guys. So that's what I take out of it. Look, I'm not going to get on the hype train with everybody else saying, "Oh, he's lost 4 in a row." That's not what I see. I see a very tough, explosive, hard-punching fighter who's very determined. He's got a big chip on his shoulder, and he wants to come out and take Jake's head off. And that's all I see. I don't see any the faults you guys see. I don't see that. I'm only looking at his strengths and what we got to do to negate those strengths.
How does the confidence or anxiety this fight week compare to the Aspirin fight week?
Fine.
Is it the same or is it?
Yeah, it's the same. Yeah, I don't really feel any different, honestly. We're ready for Sunday. We're ready for the bell to ring. And it's just, like I said, it's just, being a fighter, and this is something that people don't understand about being a fighter and being a trainer, is it's a lot of waiting. You really have to wait. You really got to pull it back a lot of times. You just got to learn how to stay calm and live within your nerves and just be relaxed and not think about it and just have confidence that when the moment comes and the bell rings, you're going to go out there and perform because you've done every single thing leading up every single day to make sure you're prepared. And I know that without a shadow of a doubt. If I could change one single thing in this camp over the last 100 days, every single day, 2 to 3 sessions a day, what would I change? Nothing. And that's why I feel very confident about Sunday.
This aside, if Jake gets past Tyron on Sunday, has there been any talk about what's next?
I'm not going to talk about that. I don't care. Again, Sunday night we can have that conversation. Monday morning, any time after the fight, we can talk about that. Because
After the fight now.
Yeah, we can have an interview again after the fight. I've heard rumblings and different things like that, but I don't even pay attention to them. The thing about it is, guys, you can't jump over a dollar for a nickel. You can't. You got to focus on what's right in front of you, and that's part of being a professional. You can't get ahead of yourself. Jake doesn't have 10 years, 15 years of experience to be in the situation and say, "Oh, we're for sure going to do this and do that." No, we gotta go out there and fight. I'm only worried about round 1. That's it. I'm not even worried about round 2. I'm only worried about round 1, what we do in round 1. Then I'm going to worry about round 2, and we're going to come up with a game plan for that. So to answer your question, I have no idea.
BJ, it's kind of helped that Jake has been knocking these guys out, because what you said was nobody knows what he has to offer, and the more the mystique that surrounds him, the more guys are going to come out and say, "I want to fight him." So it's ultimately kind of the game plan to get Tyron out there early, so another guy can step up and say, "Oh, you thought an MMA fighter, I don't know what he's got."
That's a strong possibility. Tyron is not going to be ready for what comes at him in round 1. I promise you, he won't. With all due respect to Tyron, like I said, he's a very good combat fighter. He's a very good striker, but for whatever weird reason, he has not been educated on what's on Jake's team. He doesn't understand. I don't know how, but he just doesn't get it. He's like, oh, your team is weak and your team is this. And so, if he thinks that, fine. It's just for whatever reason, he hasn't like come to speed with what's going on our side of the ball, which is fine. But like I said, this fight could go 1 round. It could go 3 or 4 rounds. I hope it goes 3 or 4. I don't think it will. If it does, great. Jake needs the rounds.
Do you think discrediting your team is just kind of a mental thing with Tyron? Do you think that he does respect it, but it's part of the trash talk at the end of the day? Or do you really believe it?
I don't care at all. It doesn't matter. Like the proof's in the pudding. Like honestly, like we can have this conversation again Sunday, and then we can see what he says about it after that. And again, like we're in the back with OGs. We don't care. Like we just it's all about Jake and it's all about the team. Me and Jake we're in different phases of our lives now. We want to create and build. We want to make people better around us. We want to make Jake as great as he possibly can be. We don't need the credit. It doesn't need to be like that at all. We don't care at all. So it's all good.
What do you make of Floyd Mayweather giving Tyron advice?
It's good. I love it. I wish Floyd would show up and be in the corner with Tyron. I wish he would. Just because it makes more hype. Any time Floyd Mayweather's involved in any type of event, it just creates more drama. He's just a master of devising a game plan. He's a master of pay-per-views. So it'd be great. I would love that. And I just love that Floyd went out of his way to try to work with Tyron and help him to beat Jake. And obviously the whole Jake taking his hat and everything got under Floyd's skin, and Floyd's going out of his way. And I wish Floyd would show up in the fight, but I don't think he will. But I wish he would. It'd make for a bigger event.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Final predictions?
No.
I don't think it's gonna go too long, guys. I'd be surprised if it gets in the 4th or 5th.
My final prediction is Jake Paul will win. I don't know which round, but he'll win for sure. Anything can happen. It's a fight. Remember that. Tyron's the champion. But all I got to say is, with all of the naysayers and all the people saying it's too much for Jake to handle, and he's not ready, and he's going to get knocked out, and Woodley's going to chin him, and he can't punch, and he's a Disney character, and blah, 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 get 3rd place in the Challenger Games, or whatever else they say about him, just give him this credit after this fight. Okay?
Thanks, guys.
Yep.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.